Good morning everyone and welcome to the latest monthly webinar from UNTHA UK. My name is Katie and I'm your host for today, and we're once again joined by Sales Director Gary Moore, who will be exploring October's subject of Tyre Derived Fuel, also known as TDF. In truth, we know that this topic isn't actually that new for the waste industry. It's actually quite a mature fuel in the energy from waste sector. But for a long time, TDS has been considered a cost-prohibitive resource to manufacture because tyre shredding has notoriously been high wear and an expensive process fraught with breakdowns. We hope we've changed this, and already we have a number of TDF installations worldwide which add weight to this claim, and Gary's going to tell you much more about this topic over the next 25 minutes or so. As always, there'll be time for plenty of questions at the end, so if you see the panel on the right hand side of your screen, please do type your questions into there at any point during the webinar, and we'll get through as many as we can before we close today's session. You're also welcome to follow up with Gary directly following the event, and I'll be sharing his details on screen towards the end of the presentation so that you have his telephone number and email address. A final bit of housekeeping before we begin, for those of you that are new to our webinars. You'll receive a copy of the slides in a follow-up email, so there's no need to make notes. You can simply sit back and listen in today. There are also a couple of short videos which Gary is going to walk you through as the webinar unfolds, and we'll include those in the follow-up email as well, so you can hear the usual audio rather than Gary's narration. And finally, if you experience any bandwidth or connectivity issues today, you might wish to pop out of GoToWebinar and come back in case your screen freezes, but hopefully everything will go without a hitch. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Gary, and please, like I say, just pop in any questions you've got as the webinar unfolds and we'll answer them all at the end. Thank you, Gary.
Well, good morning, everyone. Katie, thank you very much for that introduction. As always, very nice and a very informative introduction. Before I start, just want to wish everybody well out there with C19 being as proactive as it seems to be. I hope everyone's staying safe. So delighted to be able to join you today for this, the second of 3 informational webinars. So whether you're buying your first ever tyre shredder, seeking to upgrade your current machine, expanding your waste or recycling operation, or building a completely new processing plant, the following information will assist in helping you make a more informed decision. So before we get on today's topic, I better give you a quick introduction of who I am for those of you who don't know me. This is me, so Gary Moore. I'm the UK Sales Director and Director for Global Business Development for UNTHA. Joined pretty much a little over 5, nearly 6 years ago now, and I've been in the industry for pretty much far longer than I think I can remember now. I've served fortunately at director level across pretty much internationally and globally, both in Europe, Australia, and Northern America. Currently residing in the UK, and the nice thing about this particular position and being able to explore different markets, you get to work with all different types of people. So we work with small ambitious startup companies through to multinational blue chip organizations. I hope I'm not being a little bit too big-headed by saying I've got pretty much some vast engineering expertise, covering pretty much of the most complex of shredding applications that we come into, and especially in the tyre and the TDF marketplaces. And again, one of my prime objectives, working for the UNTHA organisation, is to explore the alternative fuel production and looking for safe and efficient, and profitable energy solutions. So, end-of-life tyres, is this a tricky waste? Well, I think so. So moving on to tyres, or TDF, Tyre Derived Fuel, for use as an alternative fuel, they're still considered by many as a problematic waste stream that is economically unviable to process. But the changing commodity landscape, the advancement of technology and new innovation means the resource potential of old tyres can readily be achieved with operational and maintenance costs significantly lower than once experienced, therefore making this a much more viable venture for investment. But the complex makeup of tyre products and a lack of engineering advancement in this specific area of waste handling means that for several years they have been considered economically unviable to process. But as mentioned before, profit is not a dirty word, and firms should not be afraid of striving to make money from their operations, especially if they are to be commercially sustainable. In the eyes of many, even those who want to support the drive to achieve a circular economy, end-of-life tyres are simply a waste headache. But fast forward to 2020, and they could just become an industry hero. Of course, some savvy operators are already way ahead of the curve. So, valuable resource. Processing tyres for recycling and energy recovery sounds like a complex task. And of course, sophisticated machinery must lay at the heart of such an operation. But as often is the case, thanks to engineering advancements, ultra clever tyre threading technology can in fact be very simple to run. And acknowledging the long-standing difficulties associated with making money from this once deemed unshreddable waste stream, tyre processing systems are now also designed with profitability in mind. In fact, many waste handlers have achieved a payback period in as short as 18 months. Key to maximising the wealth in this waste stream is the design of a processing line that can produce a contaminant-free, homogeneous output in a single pass. This reduces the capital investment required to build the system. If the technology is flexible and can be easily reconfigured to handle different input materials, including standard car or passenger tyres, through to more rugged truck or OTR tyres, and more, the investment is further protected. And if different output specifications ranging from 15 to 100 mil, that's half inch to 4 inch, can be satisfied, depending on the end user requirements, routes to this market should open up too, to minimise the risk. The technology must be engineered to withstand the pressures of this tough, bulky waste stream. Of course, and a slow-running machine with high torque should ideally be sought. This will ensure minimal wear, long service intervals, which maintains plant uptime and keeps maintenance costs low without any detriment to throughput. A capacity of 8 to 15 tonnes per hour should comfortably be achievable with operator safety always protected. So, end-of-life tyres, some facts. With a reported 1.5 billion products reaching their end of life globally every year, and a worrying 60% of these said to be landfilled, stockpiled, illegally dumped or lost from the resource chain, tyres continue to represent a notorious problem for the waste management industry. The impact that the unscrupulous handling of these redundant materials has on the environment is also vast, not least when stockpile fires break out unexpectedly or deliberately started to solve the mounting waste issue. So, some industry professionals will view and read this and think converting tyres into an alternative fuel is nothing new, and they'd be right. But acknowledgement of the resource potential in tyres is only going to grow, and quickly. In fact, a product that has long proven troublesome for many could soon emerge as a widely recognised and important piece of the environmental jigsaw. Various external factors, such as the state of the commodity landscape, as well as operators' own appetite to process end-of-life tyres, means a number of rubber specialists now have the opportunity to develop not just cradle-to-grave systems for this waste stream, but a completely closed-loop business model. So why not produce TDF? The recycling and reuse of scrap tyres is an integral part of reducing the environmental footprint, and using methods like Tyre Derived Fuel are one way to help deliver sustainable solutions to protect the world for future generations. Many used tyres today are dumped into landfills or left in stockpiles. In 2017, 39.5 million tyres were disposed of in landfills, where they will take hundreds of years to decompose. Benefits of producing TDF include saving millions of tyres from landfills in a safe and environmentally responsible way, keeps unsafe, reused tyres off the road and out of the market, produces the same or more energy as other fuels due to its high heat value, leaves no leftover residue to be landfilled, can reduce emissions from CO2, sulphur and nitrogen, and is a proven and widely recognised technology regulated by many countries. TDF, in short, has the flexibility to be used in a variety of industries. These include cement manufacturing, pulp and paper industry, electric utilities, industrial boilers, and tyres to energy facilities. But historically, expensive high-speed machines and complicated recirculatory systems have been used to produce TDF. This culminates in high wear requiring repairs and replacement parts. Invariably, unplanned breakdowns occur, and this all adds up to TDF being typically cost prohibitive to produce. That is until now. So moving on to the UNTHA TDF system, pretty much what's in the box. So looking at the slide now, you can see we have this particular system here as an in-feed conveyor. The primary shredder is our XR3000C HT, which is the iTorque machine. And we have an in-floor conveyor here. It enables the operator to feed by either front-end loader, forklift, or even manually if required. But take away the conveyor, we can equally be at home with feeding with grab or front-end loader directly into the shredder. And you can see there, coming out of that primary shredder, we have an initial discharge conveyor running then into our secondary shredder. And the secondary shredder is the XR3000XC machine. Both of these machines use the UNTHA EcoDrive system. So these are a synchronous drive package, 2 times 132 kilowatt. And once we run out of the 2 shredders there, we then run into a zigzag system for defibration, and then onwards into bagging up silos, and then further on downstream for pyrolysis. Now, looking at the system, we've broken the system up in 2 distinct ways. So on the primary shredder that you can see here on the XR3000C HT, what we're doing with this machine is we're producing the high quality clean cut 50mm 2-inch chip. And obviously, on that particular discharge conveyor, we have no metal extraction because we're taking the ferrous out further downstream if we were to produce a smaller product size. In this particular instance, we've got some crosshairs there that you can see that is splitting the system up. So for a single pass, 50mm 2-inch TDF chip, we would only use the front end of the system. So again, it's a single pass standalone system. We would move the crossbelt magnet system from the secondary conveyor onto the primary conveyor system, and that's where we will be pulling off probably around about 92% of the free wire. We can then add a permanent head magnet onto that secondary conveyor to remove the very fine material. So extremely good quality FE material is being taken out of the product, and a really, really good quality single pass TDF is being achieved. But when we move that forward onto customers that not only want to produce a TDF and fulfill some of their markets, what we then move on to is then the supply of the XR3000XC machine, which has a slightly different rotor configuration. And this is the machine that is now going to take that 50mm chip down to a sub 20 mil. And typically the product that we're producing when we run this on a 20 mil screen will be in the size band between 8 to 15 mil. So what then we're doing is we're producing a sub 15 mil TDF chip that we can then use for pyrolysis. And again, on that secondary system, although a lot of the cement companies that are using this material for their alternative fuel, they do like a little bit of steel left in the products. So we never aim to remove 100% of the steel. And what we see there with the zigzag at the end of the system, we are then removing the fibre from the system, and then the fibre in its own, on its own, can be used as a blend in SRF, again as an alternative fuel. So what's under the hood of the XR? As you can see, the slide there shows the mobile system, and basically running on to the next slide, we start to see and get under the hood of the machine on some of the top level specs. So we have on this range of machines, we have new iTorque innovation. Now this consists of the I-26 low speed iTorque gear reducers, which are giving us that extra bang for your buck when we need that machine to cut through that difficult product. The machine has been purposefully engineered for this eyewear application. So the rotor is equipped with wear welding for extended life, and this is actually robot applied at the factory. So very, very tight tolerances. We have variable product sizing, and to achieve that variable product sizing, the machine is installed with an hydraulic quick change screen system. We can typically change screens in anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes, depending on whether they're screen bars or actually screens. And there are variable size screens available for various product sizing. So even if we use that XR3000CHG as a single pass machine for a 50 mil TDF, we could still produce a smaller TDF. We could still go down in a single pass to a 25 1-inch TDF in that machine as well. So we have electric drive. Now this circumnavigates the costly fuel duty and the fire risk. These are direct electric synchronous eco drive units. Typically, as I said before, 232 kilowatt drives. We don't employ any belts to drive this, so we have no belt slippage. This is direct drive straight through a safety clutch system. And again, just a quick point on this, when we look at comparing this over diesel drive competition, we are due to see very shortly, I think it comes in next year, we are starting to look at the government trying to remove the subsidy for diesel. So we are going to see, or rather clients out there are going to see a real price increase in that fuel cost for driving these diesel driven machines. We have one of the very unique selling points of this equipment is we have indexable quick change cutter systems. Now these cutters can be indexed 4 times. Now bearing in mind on the primary shredder where we're producing that 50 mil 2-inch TDF, there's only 42 cutters installed on that machine. Again, we can turn those cutters around 4 times. They're long wearing and they are sacrificial. So you don't have to worry when these cutters are worn out. You don't have to worry about sending these for costly rebuild of a specific hard facing material. They are an extremely low cost cutter, sacrificial, you just replace them. Very easy to do, very low cost. No strip down of the machine is required. You open the access door up and you're there. One bolt removes the cutter, new cutter goes in. Typically a cutter change on our machines, clean machine, ready to have the cutter change done, could pretty much be completed in anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. And again, we have one of the real benefits of this machine as well is we've got a very, very large open upper cutting chamber area. So we've got variable feed. We can feed by grab, conveyor, front end loader, whatever the customer is already using, we can employ that feed device. And again, all of these machines are available in static or mobile options. The static are obviously stationary with fixed horizontal and inclined discharge conveyors, and the mobile is a tracked option with an integral magnet and inclined conveyor as well. So why do we have the global interest? Well, we know that TDF is one of the cement industry's most trusted fuels, but where do UNTHA slot into what's going on with the tyre industry at the moment? Well, the XR3000 CHT is a revolutionary machine concept in tyre shredding. In actual fact, the pioneer when it comes to single pass shredding. Just like all our XR products, the XR Mobile is also equipped with the energy efficient UNTHA EcoDrive. This ensures that you and your operating costs will be minimised and that material quality will be maximised. With an extensive range of interchangeable screens and cutters, the shredder can be configured according to the customer's output specification. So, for example, a consistent 25mm 1-inch TDF particle or a rough shred 100mm 4-inch particle size are both achievable, as is anything in between those sizes. This means the XR series can be configured with ease to produce an homogeneous alternative fuel for the waste-to-energy, cement, gasification, or pyrolysis markets. In addition, a height adjustable discharge conveyor belt and optionally available magnetic separation system will give you everything you need for an efficiently operating shredding system. So some benefits at a glance. We have a robust shredder with a high degree of resistance to unshreddable items. We have effective removal system for unshreddable items. We're producing an homogeneous defined fraction size through a perforated integral screen. We have a slow speed high torque shredder. We have low noise and dust emission, and typically those noise levels are sub 75 dBA in operation. It's unusual, but you can actually hold a conversation with somebody standing next to the machine. And we have low energy costs due to the UNTHA EcoDrive. We have easy to service and maintain with minimal disassembly required for most of our components. And again, these low cost competitive wear parts are available from stock. And you can see on this particular slide, we have garnered some quite amazing interest in what we're now doing with the XR3000 CHT tyre shredding machine. And some of the media, Inside Waste from Australia, Tyre Trade News, UK and Europe, as is Tyre and Rubber Recycling. And, you know, there's some pretty prestigious organisations there that are taking a keen interest in what we're doing. And this, we ran a trial a little while ago, probably about 3-4 weeks ago now. And we have one particular customer that is very heavy on agricultural tyres. Of course, does have the mix there of passenger and car tyres as well as truck tyres, including super single. And you can see here, you know, we have the material coming directly off the horizontal conveyor onto the incline conveyor. And again, you can see the TDF being produced there, and just to the right-hand side, the free clean wire also coming off the machine. So, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. I hope it's been interesting and not too boring for you. We can get a lot more technical, and I'd really appreciate any questions you have. But thank you very much for now.
Thank you, Gary. I do have a few questions to run through, if that's okay, and there's still time for anyone else that's still tuning in to pose their own questions if they want to ask anything else. So you may have answered this question, Gary, in one of your more recent slides, but a question came in earlier on in the presentation to say that, is TDF largely a UK opportunity, or are we talking overseas potential as well?
Yeah, TDF is not just a UK opportunity. It's pretty much a fairly mature global marketplace. And I think what we're actually seeing now is with some of the strange things that are happening throughout the world, where you've got countries like Australia that are obviously not they're stopping the export of bow tyres out to other countries. These countries will now start to use a lot more of the product themselves. So no, very globally used and globally accessible.
There's another question here relating to the UK. It says that current climate aside, due to COVID restrictions, under normal circumstances, would UK reference sites be available?
Under usual circumstances, yes. It is difficult, and it's, you know, being very mindful of the C19 situation. Again, it continues to change virtually, you know, throughout the UK on a daily basis. I would like to say, you know, on the mobile shredder that we've got, yes, we do have an XR3000C HT mobile version available that we take to the customer. So what we've actually done, you know, in light of the COVID situation, we can actually, you know, we've found that we can, by delivering the machine into the customer, providing an on-site trial, we can still employ all the correct safe distancing techniques that we need for C19. So we have got over the issue.
There's a question here, it talks about the market potential for TDF, and someone's asking, what would you say is the biggest market opportunity? Is it the cement industry?
Yeah, it is definitely the cement industry. I mean, cement production keeps changing on a global basis. You know, if you look at any of the stats over the past several years, you'll see that, you know, production of cement has changed from Russia to China to the States to pretty much all over the place in terms of who are the biggest, you know, user of TDF. But yeah, it's by far the cement industry are taking approximately 45 to 50% of that particular product, rather than any other product in terms of carbon black or any pyrolysis systems at the moment. I think that will change in terms of, you know, as more and more people get switched on as using TDF in all of its forms, not just a 50 mil TDF, but smaller TDF as well. You know, there's plenty of supply out there. I just think we need more EFW systems to be able to process the product.
There's a related question here. I think you've already answered much of it, but there's a part 2 of this question. So this gentleman is asking, where could TDF be sold and for how much per tonne?
Yeah, I knew. Well, it's a very complicated question because, and I've spoken, you know, just to get a real up-to-date synopsis of what's going on here. Is I've spoken to, you know, some colleagues in the industry, and you know, the TDF at the moment, depending on the quality produced, is not a readily sold product, and I think this has been driven by the, you know, the cement industries and the use of alternative fossil fuels and different fossil fuel subsidies, levies that have come into play. So in essence, TDF at the moment is a very volatile, probably cost neutral product. So typically, most companies will be charging a gate fee for their tyre input feedstock, and then depending on wherever the TDF chip is going, whether it's exported or whether it's kept in the country, determines on the value.
Okay, thank you. There's someone here and they are an established waste management operator, but they've never explored tyre shredding before for many of the reasons I presume that you've outlined in the presentation. They said they found your presentation very useful, but please can you explain what is meant by debeading?
Okay, debeading is typically, you know, all tyres around the inner rim of the tyre contains a steel wire bead for integral wall strength of the tyre. And the bead is actually where it forms the seal actually on the wheel rim. So, and this is probably, you know, at the very start of the conversation, I mentioned about being in the industry probably, you know, over 25 years. It pretty much goes back to that time when we had shredders in the market that would struggle with tyres with a bead still on there to shred. So typically what we used to employ was debeading equipment. And the debeading equipment would put, as you place the tyre onto almost a platen, a hook would come out of the platen and rip the bead out of the tyre. So what we would be doing, we would be removing a very heavy steel wire bead out of the tyre, which is more prevalent in something like a super single where you've got a very heavy bead wire in there. And then, of course, when the tyre has been debeaded, you have a very easy product to shred then, because a lot of its integral strength has been removed from that bead wire. As time has now transpired, shredding equipment has obviously got a lot more powerful, using a lot less energy. Cutter geometry and technology has been refined that it actually shears the tyre in a much better, more precise way. So we no longer need to debead tyres prior to shredding. And once we've actually shredded the tyre down to a certain product size, where we are separating and liberating the wire, it's so much easier to process tyres with not debeading.
Thank you, Gary. So that was a question from an established waste operator, and it looks like we've got one here for someone starting out on their tyre shredding journey. It says, does UNTHA have access to grants and or finance for startups?
UNTHA specifically do not have. We can probably put the customer in the right direction definitely for finance. We can provide finance. That's not an issue. In terms of grant packages that are available, there's probably several always on the go, depending on new innovation, technology, reuse of fuel. It's a real, there'll be plenty of different grant packages out there, but sometimes they do take a little bit of own work and a little bit of exploratory work to get to what might be suitable. But in terms of finance, yes, we definitely provide finance, and the finance that we actually supply is asset-based finance. So it's actually, the finance is provided based upon the asset of the equipment to make it a lot more accessible to the customer.
Thank you very much. You talked about a payback period being as short as only 18 months. Can you help customers build such a business case if they want to loop you in on doing the figures?
Absolutely. I mean, we provide, when the customers approach us for looking at a system, we can provide a complete OPEX. So what we will produce with that OPEX sheet, which is the operational data, is that we will ask the customer, how many hours are being worked, what is your electrical tariff rate, what shift pattern do you want to use, what throughput do you need, what product size. We take all of those variables and then we convert it into an OPEX document that will actually show you your cost of operation. So it actually brings it down to a very savvy cost per tonne, or can even be cost per tyre. So that's very straightforward to achieve.
Thank you. The earlier video showed a mobile tyre shredder in action. Is there a specific reason why an operator would choose a static or a mobile machine, or is it really just genuinely down to personal preference?
Yeah, some different. It really depends on the type of customer. Some customers that operate within the tyre shredding industries have had a long-standing company ownership where they've run their own transport. So a lot of these companies are transport companies that appreciate the problems of transporting whole tyres about. And when you're loading up one of these vehicles, especially on a tyre collection, then you have to lace the tyres up correctly to get them back to base to process. Now, that's okay if you're doing relatively local tyre runs, but when you have a big tyre issue where somebody has decided to fill up a warehouse or just fly tip to a significant amount of tyres, and that's going to be a long tyre shred, what we tend to do is the mobile shredder can actually go to the source. So rather than you having to transport whole tyres back to base, maybe you can actually take the shredder to the mountain, and you can volume reduce, and you can pretty much on site, you could convert that material to a 50mm TDF on site, and then that probably doesn't have to go back to your plant. That can go directly to the end user. or the cement kiln or the paper mill, or whoever wants to use that particular product. And what we're doing there is we're pretty much starting now to comply with that circular economy approach to how we're handling the waste products, in so much that we're taking, we are taking it as a cradle to grave approach. So mobile shredding, definitely great to take the machine to site. But customers, of course, some of these customers have a lot of tyres being brought to them. Some of them do not have a tyre collection service. Some of them have the product brought into them. These guys typically would only need, a static stationary solution.
Thank you. There's a very straightforward question here, which says, are the days of contra shears gone?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a background and history of contra-rotating shear shredders. So, I have, I've got, as I said earlier, vast experience with that particular technology. And, it's, don't get me wrong, fantastic machine. And it still is a good machine. But innovation is now starting to dictate how we move forward. And what the innovation is bringing with it is a change in tyre shredding equipment, in so much that we're really driving down the cost of a cutter, because typically with a contra-rotating shear shredder, the cutter cost can be quite colossal. And taken into account, most contra-rotating shear shredders need to be stripped down to replace the cutter set. So then we actually have a lot of time and a lot of labour to be able to carry out that task, but also it means the customer's out of productivity for a period of time. Now, if I call that back to our particular technology, the single shaft technology in the XR3000 CHT, we literally open an access door up, and the cutter stack, there is only 42 cutters on this machine, and we have a single bolt holding a cutter. That cutter is indexable, so we can spin the cut around 4 times. And then when that's worn out, we unbolt the cutter, take it off, replace it. Cutter change for our machines, whereas it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 days, depending on size of machine for a contra-rotating shear shredder, we can do that cutter change typically in 4 hours. So, it's the ease of maintenance and the cost and the low cost of wear parts that is making it very viable for tyre processing companies, because we have, when you look at tyres are a very, very high wear, very tough application. We're now looking at taking the tyre chip down smaller and removing more and more of the material that we can recycle. So it goes without saying that, 2 of the big areas that we can save tyre processors here is the wear cost and the maintenance cost, and the ongoing costs for the upkeep of the equipment.
Thank you. You've actually answered my next question, so thank you for that. We're coming to the final ones now, so if anyone does have any additional questions they want to pose, please type them in over the next couple of minutes. There's a question here, Gary, and it says, what are the environmental licensing requirements, if you're aware, for operating a mobile shredder on a site where the source material is located, as opposed to operating a stationary shredder on a fixed site?
It's actually it's quite easy to achieve, because invariably what you have, if you're going to site to do a tyre clearance, you're only going to be on site for a temporary period of time. The XR3000 CHT pretty much ticks all the boxes in terms of environmental compliance, because we have very low noise. We're not producing any pollutants in terms directly from the machine. We have very, very low dust, and we are separating the material at source. Now, when you start to look at different ways that you can get a permit to run that machine on site, there is the dreaded T8 application that you can go for, that gives you a cert, and you have an agreement with the EA that you can go in there for a period of time. The T8s are limited. I mean, I'm not a great fan of T8, and I think we need to move past that. But there are various ways, because it is a temporary piece of equipment that goes on site. It's very easy.
Thank you. There's a question here which we've slightly touched upon when we explored the availability of grants, but there is a question here that says, are you aware of any government support for tyre recycling centres and private recycling companies?
I'm not aware at the moment, but following on from this webinar, I think what I will do during the next several days, I will look at some grant potential for the tyre industry. So if anybody wants to email me directly, I can start to look at that and give them some direct feedback.
Thank you. Finally, if you configure the XR-HT for TDF, does that mean it's not suitable for other applications, or can it be very much a versatile machine for waste operators handling different types of materials?
Yeah, I suppose the question is if a particular client was maybe using the shredder from a Monday to Tuesday or Wednesday to process his tyres, what does he use the machine for the other couple of days? Well, this is where the XR really becomes viable over those contra-rotating shear machines, because what the customer can do then, if he wants to shred, if he has a degree of A, B or C wood waste, or he has other waste material, MSW, black bag waste, CNI waste, skip waste, all that, depending on what product size. I mean, the machine will shred all of those products, and again, because you've got the crossbelt magnet on there for FE reduction, it will take that product out as well. So it will pull some of the good stuff out of the waste stream. But all the customer really needs to do is, if he has a specific product size for another waste material that he wants to shred, is change the screen size, and then he's producing, he can produce a range of different products, with that machine. And this is what makes it, makes that particular machine very sought after.
Thank you very much. That concludes the questions. So I'd just like to thank everybody for tuning in again for our monthly webinar. The next one in November, we'll be looking at the various innovations to hit the industry in terms of the XR series. So please tune in for that. Keep your eyes peeled for the upcoming invites. Thank you very much, Gary, for all of the information you've provided today. We will be sending a recording of the webinar and a copy of the slides to everybody that tuned in today, so you can digest the content once again at your own pace. But apart from handing over to Gary to say thank you for all attending, that concludes today's event.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Katie, for that. Very much appreciated as always. And thank you for everybody for listening in. I know you're busy people, and I know it's busy times out there. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. And yeah, if anybody needs to ask any other questions, as you can see, the email's up there, telephone numbers there. Just give me a call, ping me an email. I'll send you the response. So stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.